Hi quilters, I'm Shelley Robson from the Quilted Forest, and we just finished rearranging the whole store and wanted to give you a tour of our new layout. We moved shelves, fixtures, quilts, and every bolt of fabric. It's been a while since we've had a tour, so let's get inside. Right off the bat, we have a bench of fabric and our panel wall. So we like everybody to have an opportunity to see what the panels are. We package them individually so they don't have to be cut off the bolt. You can just pick up all the ones you want and take them with you as you're shopping so you can match fabrics and such. And we have the open ones so that if you need to, you can carry these around as well. So we have all of our panels here, and above the wall there of panels, we have a couple quilts that use panels so you can get some ideas. And then here, this is usually the newest fabric in the store. Got some really skinny bolts in there, so we'll be putting some new stuff in there soon when we get it unboxed. And then we have our notion spinners. So we have all sorts of notions, and everything's on our website. We have everything in now, so hopefully if you need to go shopping, you can find what you need. Notions, fabric, whatever it is. All right, and then there is the color wall, which is always fun to see. And when you see samples on the wall here, usually we have kits that match and the patterns. Sometimes the patterns are in the kits, sometimes they're separate. It kind of depends on what it is. And that way, if you want to make more than one of something, you don't end up with two patterns on some of this. So here is our display of charm packs. We love charm packs here. And so we usually have a big selection, and I kind of stock up so they last a while. And we have a lot of samples made with charm packs too, because like I said, we love charm packs. And then this bench also is newer fabric, and we have all the pretties, or at least we try to. And moving onto the fabric wall. Trying to back up so you can get a big view of it here. So we are lucky to have a lot of ceiling height so we can hang things all over the shop. We usually have a lot of samples hanging in the store. I counted once and I got over 200, and I decided to stop counting because that seemed like a lot. So there's always inspiration hanging on the walls here and all over everything else too. So we have a good supply of the zippers from Terry Atkinson. And we have a lot of books and patterns of hers as well. And then you will see on this wall 3 samples of our Jelly Jive quilt. And this is a black and white quilt with a pop of color. So you can see here is the blue one, here is the lime one, and our newest one down here is the red one. We have a pink one somewhere too. I don't know where that is, but the nice thing about it is we made our own jelly rolls. So there are 30 strips that are black and white. And then you just buy whatever pop of color you need. Those are also on the website. Those are called cotton candies. We have all sorts of colors to pick from. And then we have our batik fabric. We usually have a good selection of batik fabrics. Of course, we love all the kinds of fabrics. Batik is one of them. And so we have a good variety of colors, patterns of batiks. And then moving back here, we have our holiday collections. So we have a Halloween selection on this rack here, and then also on the other side because I'm a sucker for Halloween fabric. Love it. I have to make something new almost every year. And then this section over here is our Christmas fabrics. And we're starting to get some of those Halloween and Christmas fabrics in the shop. They generally arrive kind of mid-year for us. And then on this side, we've got the greens and blacks of the Christmas fabric. And then back here, we have our 108s. And then this is the back wall of the shop. Those are some of the, I think those are all Terry Atkinson patterns except for the irons. And then back in this corner, we have all of the YouTube projects that we've done, all the quilts from that. So you can see the quilts hanging on the wall there. And then back here, we have a couple things that might be interesting for you to see. The first is we have some racks of quilts that are for sale. So some runners and some lap quilts, and then some bigger size projects. And then these are hanging out right by our batting selection and pillow forms, stuff like that. And then this corner up here is where we sit and sew when the store isn't busy, and which isn't too often sometimes, but there's days here and there where town is really slow, so we get things done. Deanne is working on this book nook pattern. I think it's turning out really cool. We did different colors than the pattern says, which we like to do just to show you a different way to use the pattern, but I really love the way that's turning out. And then if you go down these steps here in our shop, we've got a couple restrooms, and then don't look too close to that messy area because that's kind of a big mess. I am planning to do some rearranging down here, so maybe someday it won't be quite as messy, but I make zero promises because always a little bit messy. And then we have quilts hanging out everywhere. And then this corner area of the shop is where we have all of our black and gray and white and cream fabrics, plus some of the prints that are backgroundy prints but not plain. And then we have this cart here. My daughter put this together, and those pieces are like leftovers from cutting strips and stuff. And she just put this on an old grocery cart that we had. It was kind of in bad shape. It was kind of rusty, and all of the metal looked like that. And we thought if we just cover it up and make it fun, it'd make a great display piece. So in there we have scrap bags and scarf kits for knitters, and just it's a fun thing to have hanging around the shop. And then there's the non-color wall. Is that what we're gonna call it, maybe? Just like the neutrals, things like that. And then we have a cart of flannels. I don't have a huge selection of flannels, but I have some really pretty ones and some fun ones that'll make. We have a quilt that we call the 7-yard wonder. It takes 7 1-yard cuts and makes a fantastic quilt. It's in a book called Project Parade. It's on the cover of the book. It's an easy pattern that makes a great quilt out of 7 1-yard cuts. On here, we've got some great wall space so we can hang up a big quilt. And then back in that corner is our clearance items. So we have some books, some patterns, and then fabrics. And all these fabrics are $8 a yard. And we've actually put some of them on the website too. So we do have a sales section. So if you're ever looking for a good bargain on fabric, you can check that out. And then we've got The backs of shelves, we use those to hang up quilts. And this dresser that I use in the shop for display is actually a dresser I had when I was a kid. And fun fact, my cat Mittens had kittens in the bottom drawer of that dresser. So that's just a fun little side note on that dresser that I use for display. And then in the store we have these 3 pillars, which are supports for the building, obviously. This back pillar has patterns, so all the patterns that we have are usually here unless they are underneath their project that you would see on the wall. We try to keep the projects and the kits that go with patterns right below where they're at so they're easy to find. But if they're not there, they're going to be here on this pillar. And we have a good selection of patterns from different designers. This side has all our by Annie stuff. So the patterns, the mesh, and then a bunch of the zippers down here. And then this side has patterns from a bunch of different designers. So Cluck Cluck Sew, we've got some Elizabeth Hartman from So Kind of Wonderful, a little bit of everything. And then leading into this middle section of the shop here, on this side of the shop, we have a bunch of books. A lot of these are the Annie's quilting books. So she's got a good selection of books. We love those. There's some of the Terry Atkinson books we like. And then this area, when we moved everything around, we moved everything, like every shelf unit, except for 2 we moved, and the ones that are connected to the wall, we didn't move those. And then all the display pieces are in different spots, and they were. It was kind of fun for us to see everything in a different spot. We didn't want to get bored. All right, so this area has all the brighter prints that we have. So the one on the left here has a lot of motif fabric, all the pretty florals, pinks, greens, blues, reds. The center section is mostly 30s reproduction prints, which is why we had the samples made out of the 30s fabrics there. This one on the end we are calling our farm and garden section. It's got some of the Kathy Holden fabrics, our little bees selection, some fruits and vegetables, chickens, kind of Iowa centric, farm girl centric. And then on this wall we have some of our awesome samples. The one on the left is a pattern by Doug Lecco, and the one on the right is called Celtic Nut. And that one is so pretty, and that one is just fat quarter bundle plus a background. And we do have kits for that one, and patterns, of course. And then we have our thread selection. And then this fabric shelf has all our Kansas Troubles fabrics and pieces that look good with that. And such a rich, just yummy pile of fabric there. And then we have this pattern. This one's called Easy Charms. That's one of our patterns. And it's just a charm pack or 2. And then, I can't remember the fabric requirements, but, and then the background fabric. And it just makes a nice visually pretty quilt. And then here is a pattern by Mountain Peak Creations. And that one's called Sidelights. And it uses a panel and then yardage. And then we have our Lori Holt books with our spelling bee quilt on that table. And then some of these smaller projects right here are from the Christmas book, the vintage Christmas book. And we have kits for those small cute things. And we just love all her books. There's just so many ways you can use the patterns and the blocks and mix and match and have a good time with them. And the patterns are well written. We love that always. And we have fat quarters over here. And then around this corner, we have all of the Fabric Cafe books that we have. So we like those because they're 3 1-yard cuts, or she's got some new ones that have 5 1-yard cuts. And great patterns, good directions. And of course, it's easy to cut fabric from there because it's just 1-yard cuts. Gotta love it when it's easy. This is our bright fabric corner up here. So this section on the right, this one right here, is all of our Tula Pink fabric. And then above these 2 sections, we've got some puzzles, fun stuff. And then this here has some bright fabrics. And there's a little bit of everything. There's some Moda, there's some P&B, some really pretty butterfly prints, and then a few more puzzles on there. And then this has all of our cotton candies on it. So these are just 10 strips. So it's like a quarter of a jelly roll. And we cut these ourselves. So each of these are going to be just a little bit different. Like this one has all the same print in it. These are all 10 different prints. And there's a whole bunch of different colors. And those would be great for that jelly jive pattern I was showing you earlier. And then these are the black and white jelly rolls. And we also cut these ourselves. Sometimes the jelly rolls available from companies are fabric lines, and we just take fabric from a bunch of different companies and throw it together and make our own. And then this wall has some gorgeous projects on it. Again, we have all these kits on our website. Some of these you might recognize from the YouTube videos we've done in the past. And then in this section here, we have our Tim Holtz fabric. And then a few other things that kind of look good with the Tim Holtz. And then there's my splendid sampler quilt. I think we have 1 book left. Or maybe it's gone, I can't tell. And then these quilts here are all patterns by So Kind of Wonderful, and use the mini quick curves ruler. It's one of our favorites. We just keep making projects using the book because it just has so many awesome projects in it. And that one is called Mini Wonderful Curves. So the one in the center, and I think the one on the right is from there. And then the one on the left is called Starry Night, and that's a standalone pattern. And then this quilt on the left here is called the Eliza quilt, and it's just a visually stunning piece. The interwoven strips of fabric, it just has a really cool look to it. And then we have all of our jelly rolls and layer cakes over here in this area. And we have some cake mix recipes. Those are great for sewing on layer cakes, making fun projects. And then we always have a good selection of jelly rolls and layer cakes because we love pre-cuts. And then underneath that, we have our Minky and Cuddle fabrics. Wide variety of those, and some of those new fabrics from Riley Blake that are the double lush. Those are on there. All right, I'm gonna back up just a little bit, and then here is our display of all of our patterns. So these are called tiny ones. There's 137 different ones. They make anything from a table runner to a king size quilt, and we have them all three sides of this display and also on our website. And we'll leave a link in the description below that'll take you to the website where you can find most of these things. And then here we have a display with just a bunch of different fat quarter bundles, kits, our little Nantucket charm bags. And then on the front of this, we have the fishing fabric, and we're working on a sample that'll go with this kit here. We don't have it done yet, but we're working on it. And then some no-shitty things. And then right before that is our display that has all our rulers on it. So we carry rulers from a couple different companies. Creative Grids obviously is one we probably carry the most of, but we also have some Quilt in a Day, some easy quilting rulers, rulers by other companies, the So Kind of Wonderful rulers, and some of our favorites. And then in this corner here, we have all the Quilt Smart patterns and foundation that is available. And we've been in love with that Mondo bag for years and years. She has a new one called the shoestring bag, which also uses the 2.5-inch squares, but it's more of a like little backpack kind of a pattern. We love that one. And then this is the front window. We kind of have a Independence Day sort of theme going right now. So that's a panel quilt, and then the Jonah quilt, and the pattern for the one on the wall uses panels that are either 36 inches wide, or it can also use patterns that are 24 inches wide. So it's called Farmer's Sunshine, and it's a great pattern for panel quilts. And then we have our porch quilt that we did for this one, and it's quilt as you go or sew it and then quilt it. It's a great little pattern. We have kits of those, and that has all the fabric in it for the quilt top and the binding. And then I'm going to give you an overall look from this side of the store. So we have two front doors, so it kind of, you'll see different things depending on what door you come in. And then this is the back counter. We sometimes use this one when we have buses or big days that we're expecting to have a lot of people coming through. We'll open up a second register. We have a little red, white, and blue themed bench here to go with the stuff that's in the front window. And then in the middle of the store, we have the crib, which, fun fact, all three of my children used when they were babies. So they're not babies anymore. And so it's now here as part of the display at the Quilted Forest. And then this pillar has all of our peace tree patterns on it. And then it's a nice little spot for other kits and things like that. And then in the middle of the store, this is where the UPS guy drops off all of our boxes, or the FedEx guy drops off the boxes. So as you can see, we have a little pile here, which means we will be having an unboxing soon. So be on the lookout for that. And this is where we get the fabric cut for people, and then we take them up to the register in the front to check them out. So on the back side of this pillar, we have all of our fabric books that are available. Not quite all of them, but all the ones that we have made thus far. We like these little fabric books. They're great for kids. And you can have a lot of fun making them. And if you don't want to make them into a book, you can always cut the pieces apart and put them into a quilt. And here is the All Iowa Shop Hop fabric. So starting June 1st, and it goes through the month of June and all of July, it's the All Iowa Shop Hop. So there's a book available that shows you all the shops in the state. This is the fabric that goes with the All Iowa Shop Hop, which you can buy now, and then we can ship June 1st, or you can buy now and have it held here at the store and pick it up after June 1st. So it's available. And then there's the panel. And then here is the checkout counter. And we have a small display here. I think there's only a couple left of these. I think maybe one of the barn and one of those fat quarter bundles for that pretty quilt on the chair. And then there's the All Iowa Shop Hop book. And then quilter's candy here on the counter. Those are those little mini charms. When you want just a little of something, those are the thing to get. And you can put together table runners or buy multiple packs to make bigger things. But we have quite a few of our own patterns that use the mini charms. So both of those patterns are one mini charm and a background plus a binding. The one on the right is called Scrappy Trails. The one on the left is called Building Blocks. And then this pillar in the front on the back side has notions and scissors, charms, fun things. And then this case in the front has all the sprays and the pens and the rickrack and the ribbon that we have. And then we are working on a sunshine and blue skies quilt that we're going to put in the front window when we change that out soon. And then this last front window, which is kind of where we started, has some of those 3-yard quilt patterns in it, using those beautiful florals. So we're going to give you one last taste of an overall look at the store. What's nice about our space is we have a lot of floor space, so if you're in a wheelchair or have a stroller, you can get around really easy. A lot of space for people to wander. You can back up and look at things from farther away. So if you need to test out fabrics or you want to see a quilt farther out, you can. And most of what we have on the walls, we have kits for them. If we don't have kits, we have patterns and we can help you pick fabric. And unless something has sold out recently, we almost always have everything in stock. But occasionally we do run out, and then we just reorder. And you can come back in and get it or have us ship it to you. But I hope you enjoyed the tour and get a little taste of what the Quilted Forest is like and what we have to offer. So if you're in the area, we hope you'll stop by. If you're not in the area, you can always check out our website and see what we have to offer there. Well, thanks for watching. Happy quilting!